But I don't even think college football on the field action has dominated the news cycle. It's kind of taken
Oh
a
no.
back seat the last couple of days.
Yeah.
Um, if you have been asleep since Saturday, you're waking up to a USC program led by Lincoln Riley, a LSU program led by Brian Kelly, and a Florida program led by Billy Napier. Those are the three big hires. Napier obviously not getting as much publicity after what happened with Lincoln Riley and Brian Kelly. So Lincoln Riley leaves Oklahoma, who has gone to the playoff 3-4 years in the last couple of years, for USC on Sunday. And then yesterday on Monday, Brian Kelly leaves Notre Dame for LSU. This sounds like NCAA football 14. Would you like to
Yeah.
explore other options in the coaching carousel, or would you like to sign your extension with Notre
Yeah.
Dame?
Yeah.
First of all, can I say I love it? Obviously, I have no vested interest in any of these teams.
Right.
I love it. And I forgot who tweeted it, but someone said there is no such thing anymore as a stepping stone job. Lincoln Riley and Brian Kelly were at Oklahoma and Notre Dame, two of the top 10 programs in the country. And they left. They weren't fired. They didn't go to the NFL. They left for another college coaching job, head coaching job.
Yeah.
I mean, when you see the contracts, no sane person blames them for leaving for what they're getting offered and what they accepted. The
No.
only people upset about this are Oklahoma and Notre Dame fans.
Yeah.
Those are the only people upset about this. Everyone else
Yeah.
in the country completely understands and loves the moves. What do
I
you
love
think?
the
You're
I love the
in the
chaos.
heart. You're in the heart of this right now. Logan is in
Yeah.
South Bend, Indiana, home
Yeah.
of the Fighting Irish. I'm
Yeah.
surprised the town is still standing, but it
It's
is.
it's
So,
it's
what
been
is
a
the
day.
mood in South Bend right now?
It's been a day. I have not talked to a ton of people, but I do follow a lot of South Bend media on Twitter. And from what I've gathered from people I talk to, whether that's media or friends that I follow on Twitter or people that I have talked to, a lot of confusion, a lot of people that are upset. Which, trust me, I understand. Um, I I get it. I get where they're coming from. They have every right to be upset when your coach leaves. It is the business. It is the money. There are certainly theories aplenty for both of these situations as to why these two gentlemen did the things that they did to go take other jobs. I've heard several people in terms of Brian Kelly reference the fact that he doesn't think he can win a championship here.
Yep.
And there have been too many roadblocks that he has had to go through with administration. There are too many roadblocks with the simple fact that Notre Dame has higher standards when it comes to its students, its student athletes. He is not recruiting the same players that he can recruit when he's at LSU. And then the thing that I mentioned it today, and I think the biggest question mark I have with this whole Brian Kelly situation, not so much Lincoln Riley, but Notre Dame is still in the mix for a playoff spot.
Yeah, I was going to bring this up while we were
Why?
talking about the playoff, but I waited.
Why
till now.
does this have to happen now? Why couldn't this have been figured out next week?
Yeah.
Like when I get it. Notre Dame does not have another regular season game. Their next game will either be the national semifinal or a New Year's Six bowl game.
Yeah.
Either of which will be a month away. So I get that part of it. But if you are still in the mix for a playoff spot, why not wait another week and see what happens?
You want to know the answer?
I mean, I kind of know the answer, but I would love to hear what you think.
Signing day is the 15th of December.
That's fair. Yeah, that's a good point.
So
I hadn't thought about that.
LSU wants their coach in place at least 2 weeks to either convince these guys, hey, yeah, this is who we're going to have. We still want you here, or no, we're going to pull our offer. or whatever.
I understand that. But here's my counter to that. If Brian Kelly was their guy, don't you think that they would be fine with giving him another week? Just a week? If they make the playoff, then I don't know. There's a lot of factors that go into it. That's just where I stand on it. I get the signing day thing. That's certainly something to consider. And I think that is obviously part of it.
Because it used to be in January, so you could wait until a little bit. But now a couple of years ago, they added the early signing period.
The fact that it's not is kind of nuts. I don't know. I just that's my biggest question with the whole thing. And you're right. Signing day, I'm sure, does have something to do with it.
Yeah. So my
the
question is
the other thing of this, if they do make the playoff, then it's another month that he's going to be there. Yeah. I understand coaches leave all the time before bowl games. I feel like it's a little different though when you're fifth, you're fifth or sixth. I mean, if a team or two loses this weekend, you're in. You're playing for a national championship theoretically.
Yeah. So what happens if Cincinnati and Notre Dame are both in the national college football playoff and Fickell accepts the Notre Dame job? What happens?
I love your theory. I do not think Luke Fickell will be accepting anything until after his season is over.
Yeah.
I don't think that's the case. If that's who Notre Dame wants, Notre Dame will wait. I don't think he will. I could be wrong. I probably wouldn't have guessed that Brian Kelly was going to leave, but I just don't think Luke Fickell leaves while his team is playing for a national title. That's what he has tried to do this entire time.
Yeah.
And then he finally gets there and he's like, peace out. Like that'd be a bad look. That'd be a real bad look.
Well, it can't be worse than what's going on with Lincoln Riley and Brian Kelly. They left. They look really bad the way it all went down.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't look good, but the other part of this too, and I was talking to somebody else about it today, nothing's a secret anymore.
Yeah.
Nothing's a secret.
Yeah.
Everybody's upset that the players found out through a text message and all this other stuff. That's not Brian Kelly's decision. That is not Brian Kelly's fault. Yeah. Somebody in probably the LSU athletic office found out about this, tipped somebody off in the media, and then it's out there and everybody knows. That is not how Brian Kelly would have wanted that to go down. I don't know Brian Kelly personally, but I cannot imagine that he wanted all of his players to find out via a text message or via social media from somebody else and not from him. But that's just the world we live in. So it's kind of shitty that this is where we're at with how this stuff's happening and how quickly this stuff happens, but nothing's a secret anymore. So I don't know. It's chaos. I love the chaos. We asked the question at the top of the show, and I'll turn it on to you. Of those 4 jobs, what do you think is the best gig?
Well, before we get to that,
okay. There's
Brian Kelly, 10 years, $9.5 million for Brian Kelly. I don't have a year. I'm assuming it's 10 years for Lincoln Riley as well, but I'm not sure about that. But it does say it's $110 million. USC is buying both of his homes in Norman for $500,000 over asking, $1 million bonus. They're buying him a $6 million home in Los Angeles for himself, and he has unlimited use of the private jet 24/7 for his family. That's Lincoln Riley's deal. Even Oklahoma fans should be like, yeah, he probably should have taken that. Like, you have to be like, how can you turn that down? He did tell Dan Patrick today that he had not talked to USC until Sunday morning, which is 100% a lie. There's no way you wake up Sunday morning to a phone call from USC and you get a deal done that day. There's no way.
Why not?
I don't believe that for a second.
Do you think he was running from the SEC?
Yes. I think he
I
saw
agree.
heading to the SEC where you have the likes of Alabama, Georgia, potentially LSU, potentially, I don't want to throw Auburn in there, but you have powerhouses in the SEC where the Pac-12 is wide open. If you go undefeated in the Pac-12, you're getting in the playoff.
It's crazy that one of these coaches is running to the SEC and one of them is running from the SEC.
Yeah, well, the one coach running to the SEC doesn't have a conference, and that's why he's sitting on the outside looking in at the playoff right now.
That is a thing as well. And
Okay,
Notre Dame fans don't always want to acknowledge that that's the case, but let's be honest.
I know we're going pretty long here. I wasn't expecting to talk this much about this. If Notre Dame was in the ACC this year and Notre Dame is 11-1 with their only loss to Cincinnati, are they in the top 4 right now?
No, but they'd have a much better shot of finishing in the top 4
because they would have a conference championship this week to play.
And they'd have another game against the top 15, top 20 team.
Yeah.
Which they do not. Their schedule as it was awful. They had a terrible schedule. Their only good opponent they lost to, they got a win against a better than decent Wisconsin team. But the rest of their schedule, they did not play anybody worth a damn this year.
Yep.
So, their defense looked stronger as the season progressed. And I'm sure a lot of Notre Dame fans are making that argument that they're one of the 4 best teams. And I can understand that. But their schedule as it wasn't good. So, I don't know that they would be in the top 4, but they would have a much better shot of getting into the top 4 if they were playing for a conference championship this weekend.
I've always said this about Notre Dame. The conference they fit in is the Big Ten.
Of course.
So if they would join the Big Ten, then I think they're in the top 4 for sure. But that's talk for another day.
That's not happening.
All right. So of course, by the time this comes out on Wednesday, there will probably be something else newsworthy, whatever. There's a lot of talk that Will Venables is going to Oklahoma. A lot of talk that Notre Dame might not even put an interim tag on Marcus Freeman, might just make him the head coach. I know the defensive players have kind of pushed for Freeman to get that role, but we'll see what happens. 2 really good jobs open. As to your question, we'll save it for next week. See what happens. Save our discussion for the question of the week for next week.
Oh,
right?
Okay. Sure.
I think there's an obvious answer, but
I don't know that there's an obvious answer. I'm just curious to hear what you have to say. But that's fine.
We'll talk about it next week. See what the people say, and then we'll
forget.
We'll talk about it next week on the show.